Absolutely. Absolutely. And one more guy, Bobby Slowick from the Houston Texans, that we've seen all the great things that they've been able to do this year. They are playing the number 1 seed, went from worst to first and win the AFC South. I've heard the name. I'm loving what he is doing. I mean, CJ Stroud is just having himself a year with that offense, that run game. It's legitimate. I mean, and you would think, okay, well, they have this great receiver in Tank Dell, and then he's out for the season, and then Nico Collins comes out of nowhere. You know what I mean? And then he's jumping. You got Schultz, the ex-Cowboy, dominated at tight end for them. You know what I mean? And Singletary, the old Buffalo guy, running back. They have nice pieces over there, and he's using them so well. And you saw in that game last week against Cleveland, I mean, it was back and forth. I mean, shout out to Flacco, who was able to, kind of keep pace. But I think it was like 24-14 at the half. And the Texans were just, I mean, I think 1 or 2 of them was drives, but I think a couple of them were just deep balls. Yeah. And he hit Nico for I think a 30, 40-yarder or something like that. He hit Schultz for one, but he also hit somebody else that broke a tackle and got it. Stroud in that offense, they look great. My question, though, because I love this guy, but my question is, how much is that CJ Stroud and the fact that they did have Tank Dell for most of the year, who's a legit receiver? They have a nice line. They have a better line than we do, and they have pieces. How much of that is that, and how much of that is Bobby Slowick?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, what was most impressive to me about it is 2 things. It's you broke the Ohio State curse big time. Stroud, and think about either, what's happening in Carolina right now. What are they thinking about? The decision they made. So that's impressive. And all those names you just mentioned, they weren't top draft picks. They're not number 2 overall picks, Marvin Harrison Jr.'s, coming in here. These names that he turned into being really good players. So he's extremely impressive on the offensive side. And his pedigree on who he's learned from is Mike Shanahan when he was in D.C. He's been under Kyle for years and learning what Kyle Shanahan does. So he's learned from some of the top names. The question on Slowick is this 1 year too early? Can he lead a franchise, or is he good at calling plays? And that's what separates these guys. These guys get promoted and get their chances, and now it's a whole different thing. They're not just doing X's and O's right now. Now they're managing people, and that's the big thing on him. But at the same time, they thought Sean McVay got hired a little bit premature too, and he did a great job in LA and turning them around. So I'm not saying Slowick is the next McVay, but it's like, there's also examples of people who, they kind of think this is a little bit early for Slowick to get hired. It could be next year, but it's good that we're interviewing him and finding out.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, and I mean, we talk about, he could potentially be the next McVay. Could he also end up being the next Eric Bieniemy, where it's like you were great over there, but you came over here and it just you couldn't replicate it.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. Yeah, you really don't know. And, he's got a couple of interviews. I think the Seahawks are looking at him. So it'll be really interesting to just kind of see. And that's one of those things where Chris Cooley once said about Sean McVay, if he ever gets an interview, he's going to get the job. So when he got the interview opportunity with the Rams, and then he got hired, Cooley had said, hey, I'm not surprised, because he was going to come with his binder. He was going to come with his details, with his notes on how he builds a franchise. So there's an opportunity for Slowick to show that, I've only been doing this 1 year, but look what I've learned from. This is, what I would do. And that's just kind of what we'll have to find out about him.